We consider, evaluate, and postulate everything. Welcome to Capacity Cast with your hosts Michael and Scott. Let's get started.
We're discussing what are the next viable frontiers for humans in space.
Just getting a person somewhere.
Gotcha. Does that mean that would be the moon, you would think?
Well, some people want to just go to the moon. Others people want to go to Mars. Those are the two biggies.
China has a manned moon mission planned, right?
Oh, really?
Within the next 5 years or so.
That does not sound realistic.
I don't know. I don't know.
Who knows? They might. I think they've sent some probes or whatever, which is a good start, but getting people there is probably not as easy as it appears these days.
No, I don't think so. It's incredible that we made it there at all, let alone multiple times.
Yeah.
So when we think of frontiers, we think of planets, moons, asteroids. I think that the next viable, as in we can do this regularly and we can lower the cost frontier, would just be orbital
getting
rides.
Stuff, right.
And
so
transport.
Elon, with his SpaceX, he's trying to lower the cost of getting stuff into space.
Sure.
Having reusable pieces to the rocket, which he's had two components reusable so far. I don't remember which ones they were, but that's a good thing. And of course, he has the cool, when the thing comes down back into Earth, it usually lands either on some type of platform in the ocean, which is cool to see because it comes straight down and then the rockets are going and you can see the adjustment rockets. It's super cool to look at. So
I love watching
never
those.
Seen it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love watching those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes they land it on ground, but either one, it just looks really cool.
Yeah, his marketing is impeccable. It's good because it encourages people to get in and to presumably to purchase payload on future trips.
And then there's another one, Bigelow Aerospace, which are the ones that are making large inflatable structures to be put into space. So they actually have one on the space station right now. It's a test, and I think it's working pretty well so far.
Oh yeah, I saw the photo of the deployment. That's the kind of technology I really like to see. Anything that sort of takes what we expect a structure to have to do and to throw out assumptions like gravity and I guess unusual ways of providing for heat and air conditioning and so forth.
Yeah.
And all of that is good because we really need several orders of magnitude more organizations and people to be, I think, accessing a frontier before we can really call it explored, viable.
Yeah.
To use an analogy of the American West, I think when you have a few random people trying to make it from, the Midwest to Oregon, you can't really, that's still very much a frontier. That's still, it's really unexplored until you have just a constant stream of people, where, a trail has almost become a road, I think. Until then.
A lot of people think Mars is not realistic. Even in the 2030s, they don't think it's realistic. So another group says, let's go back to the moon and let's have an actual base, which people are looking more seriously at now is back to moon for some type of base, which I think is a relatively good idea because that's still challenging enough and it's slightly more realistic.
And the purpose of the base would be to aid with exploring the surface of the moon?
Or a jumping off point for future missions out further.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the lower gravity would be great for jumping off of that.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, you could almost imagine a obviously very speculative chain of resources and routes that would eventually get you to Mars or Jupiter or Venus or whatever. How about, besides the structures on the surface of the moon, structures in space?
Yeah, orbiting the moon maybe.
Yeah.
I think that would be an option.
Paul Allen is funding a company that's seeking to launch spacecraft from high altitude aircraft.
Okay.
So you just get to, kind of that hazy space between the atmosphere and space and then take off from there. I'm sure it's viable. I don't know about the cost, if it's really beneficial.
And then there's the Amazon guy. What's his name?
Oh, Jeff Bezos?
Yeah, he has an aerospace company.
Blue Origin.
Right. And I think he's the guy that's more interested in the moon at this moment.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
His strategy is interesting. So rather than, fight, invest, maybe $1 billion or $2 billion total into SpaceX, and barely survive, he's built a huge company, Amazon, and now he's pledged to fund $1 billion a year worth of R&D into his company.
That's great. So hopefully it really goes somewhere.
Yeah. If he can hire quickly enough and that money's spent well, it seems like he ought to have the first biggest largest launch company after
Yeah.
several years.
Yeah. Well, with Elon, he wants to, of course, go to Mars and have a colony, which I wouldn't count him out because he seems to fulfill what he says very frequently. There's always little quirks to the plan, but you see Tesla and it's functioning, and now they're getting very close to that cheaper, fully electric car.
It's inspiring to watch. I like watching how all of his companies and the companies he has a hand in, I guess. But I guess just seeing all these companies feed into this huge project of getting to Mars, as somebody who does not work in space, but I work in the same economy as these companies that are getting us to space. It's different than with Kennedy and focusing the whole country on the moon, but we all are sort of participating in it, I guess.
Yeah. Ideal situation would be we've focused the whole economy on space, but that's not realistic because people are just too many opinions and too many goals of a nation.
Yeah, I think the best...
We're not scared by missiles coming from Russia much as as they were back then. So
yeah, I would like, that's the whole thing. I would like to see some reprioritized spending of our tax dollars, but barring that, just having this economy where people can actually get paid to get us closer to conquering this frontier.
Yeah, and a further step past Mars, Saturn has certain moons that would be very, very interesting to check out. I don't know about people going there right off the bat, but it would be great to get there and potentially have some type of base that far out.
That would really be impressive. Beyond, once you get out there,
the radiation from Saturn itself is dangerous, but I think there's some areas that you can avoid it, like going down into the water of Europa. I mean, it's frozen, but the underground in Europa or something like that might be a viable option once technology gets to that point.
Definitely. I believe that building underground is seriously considered for any kind of moon base as well.
Yeah, they should do it in the moon because even just the dust is dangerous to have any type of structure above the surface.
Yeah, I guess just if we keep rolling the lessons from each of these into the next challenge, hopefully we won't get stuck like we kind of did get stuck between 1969 and now.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll at least get to the moon within 10 years and have an actual base. That would be my ideal situation.
Yeah, it would be. And I would really like the cost to go down to where it would be common for people to take at least one space trip in their life.
Oh yeah,
I think that's possible. I think most of us aren't going to be able to hit Mars, but just to be able to orbit would be a huge advance. We'll see.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Capacity Cast. You can hear more episodes at capacitycast.com.